She solved the billionaire's secret crisis in seconds and became his contract wife. Welcome to Billionaire Stories Real. If you enjoy deeply emotional stories of redemption and true love, please subscribe and hit the bell. Now, let us dive into the untold story that changed everything. Let us return to our main character. The glass boardroom of Hawthorne Dynamics was silent, except for the faint hum of servers behind the mirrored wall. Midnight light spilled across rows of empty chairs and the trembling hands of Lena Hart, a data analyst who was never supposed to be in this meeting. Her code had just stopped the company's financial system from collapsing, a glitch that could have cost the firm $300 million. Across the table stood Cole Hawthorne, the billionaire CEO known for never showing emotion. His jaw was sharp, his tie still perfectly knotted, even after 20 hours of crisis. Lena expected him to thank her, maybe to dismiss her. Instead, he tore the report in half and said quietly, "You just saved my empire, but you also created a problem I cannot solve alone." Lena blinked. "Sir, I do not understand." Cole leaned against the table, eyes fixed on her. "My board believes I am unstable after my father's death. They are forcing me to marry within the quarter to secure my inheritance. I need a wife on paper only, someone trustworthy, someone who knows how to keep a secret." The words hung in the air like static. Lena's pulse stumbled. "You cannot be serious." "I am always serious." He slid a slim folder toward her. Inside was a legal contract, embossed with the Hawthorne crest. 6 months, public appearances only. I will pay your student debt, cover your sister's medical bills, and after that you walk away. Lena stared at the contract, her mind spinning between disbelief and the memory of the hospital's overdue notices stacked on her kitchen counter. "You could have anyone sign this," she whispered. "I could," Cole replied, "but only you saved my company when everyone else failed." His voice dropped lower, deliberate. "You are the only one I trust." Silence thickened between them. The city lights pulsed beyond the window, a constellation of power and temptation. Lena's throat tightened. She wanted to run, yet part of her wondered what it would feel like to stand beside him not as a subordinate, but as his equal, even if it was just an illusion. She exhaled slowly. "If I say yes, what are the rules?" Cole's expression softened for the first time that night. "No love, no lies to the press. Attend 5 corporate events. And keep your heart out of it." He reached for the pen resting between them, its gold clip catching the light. "Sign, and we start tomorrow." Lena hesitated, the sound of her own heartbeat louder than the city beyond the glass. Then, she took the pen. Her signature flowed across the page like a spark in the dark. Cole extended his hand. "Welcome to the arrangement, Mrs. Hawthorne." Her breath caught at the word Mrs. The title felt foreign, unreal, yet heavy with something she could not name. As their hands touched, the lights from the skyline flickered in the reflection of the window, 2 strangers bound by paper, standing on the edge of a lie that would soon turn into something neither of them could control. Morning light slipped through the blinds of Cole Hawthorne's penthouse, painting long lines of gold across the marble floor. Lena stood at the edge of the kitchen island, still wearing the white blouse she had borrowed from the stylist the night before. A team had arrived at dawn to prepare her for the new role the world believed she already had. "Mrs. Hawthorne," one of them had said with a polite smile, as if the title had always belonged to her. Now the stylists were gone, leaving only the faint scent of hairspray and the echo of her own doubts. Cole walked in, perfectly composed in a charcoal suit, the contract folded in his jacket pocket. "You are early," he said. "I could not sleep," Lena replied. "It still feels unreal. It will feel that way for a while." His voice was low, steady, the kind that made people stop arguing. He placed a tablet on the counter, displaying a photo of them from the previous night. The press release had already gone live. Hawthorne marries longtime partner in private ceremony. Beneath it, thousands of comments. Speculation, disbelief, envy. Lena's stomach tightened. Cole noticed. "Ignore them. Our job is to look consistent. We attend the charity gala tonight, hand in hand. After that, you can return to your routine." "My routine?" she asked softly. "That would be my real life, the one that just ended yesterday." He studied her for a long moment. "You knew what this required." "Yes," she said. "But knowing does not make it easier." Cole's phone buzzed. He turned away to answer, his tone sharp and professional, already buried in business again. Lena watched him move through the apartment, precise, distant, every gesture measured. She wondered if anyone had ever seen him lose control. By noon, the apartment had transformed into a studio. The PR team rehearsed their entrance for the evening gala. Lena practiced walking beside Cole, her steps small and careful, her hand brushing his arm for balance. Each time she touched him, he stiffened slightly, not out of rejection but discipline. The line between proximity and danger was razor thin. When the rehearsal ended, Cole dismissed everyone with a curt nod. The room emptied, leaving them alone amid the glittering skyline. "You handled it well," he said. "I handled pretending," she corrected. His mouth curved slightly. "That is all anyone in this city does." The words lingered long after he left the room. Hours later, as the sun dipped behind the glass towers, a car waited at the fair base of the building. Lena adjusted the silver gown the stylist had chosen. Simple, elegant, deliberately understated. Cole offered his arm as they stepped into the flash storm of cameras. "Smile," he murmured. "They can smell fear." Inside the gala hall, chandeliers glittered above rows of executives and investors. Cole's hand stayed at her back, steady but impersonal, like a guardrail. When a journalist called out, "Mr. Hawthorne, how did you meet your wife?" The question sliced through the noise. Lena felt every eye turned toward her. Cole hesitated, the practiced answer momentarily lost. So she smiled and spoke first. "He was about to fire me," she said, laughter soft but clear. "Instead, I fixed his problem. Now he is stuck with me forever." Laughter rippled through the crowd. The tension broke. Cole looked at her, truly looked, his eyes flickering with surprise, then something close to admiration. He whispered, "Well played, Mrs. Hawthorne." For the rest of the night, Lena floated through the event, like a woman inside someone else's dream. Cameras followed, champagne sparkled, and every handshake felt like acting. Yet beneath the lights, there were moments fleeting, dangerous, when Cole's hand brushed hers and lingered half a second too long. When they finally returned to the penthouse past midnight, Lena slipped off her heels and leaned against the door. The city glowed below, endless and cold. Cole loosened his tie, his reflection caught in the window beside hers. "First day," he said quietly. "You did well." She turned toward him. "Then tell me, Mr. Hawthorne, when does pretending stop?" He met her gaze, unreadable. "When one of us forgets it is pretending." The silence that followed was not empty. It was heavy, electric, full of things neither dared to say. Outside, the night shimmered, waiting for the lie they had built to turn into something dangerously real. The days that followed blurred into a rhythm Lena had never known before: morning meetings, photo calls, and the silent choreography of pretending to belong. Every movement was practiced, every smile timed. The tabloids called her the mystery bride, printing stories about her background that sounded like fiction. She had stopped reading after the first headline, but the whispers still found their way to her. Inside the marble office on the 52nd floor, Cole Hawthorne remained the same. Distant, focused, impenetrable. Yet something had shifted since the gala. When Lena entered a room, he looked up. When she spoke during board meetings, he listened. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but she felt it. One afternoon, as the board members argued over quarterly losses, a senior executive sneered. "With all due respect, Mr. Hawthorne, perhaps your new wife should leave financial matters to professionals." The words hung heavy. Lena froze, her pen midway through a note. Cole's gaze sharpened. "She is the professional who prevented those losses from becoming a catastrophe," he said calmly. "If anyone here can solve a system failure in under a minute, speak now. If not, you will listen to her." The room fell silent. Lena forced herself to keep her expression neutral, but inside, her heart was pounding. When the meeting ended, Cole closed his laptop and said quietly, "Do not let them reduce you. They only understand power when it raises its voice." She smiled faintly. "And you? Do you ever raise yours?" He looked at her for a long time. "Not unless I have to." That night, the city was soaked in rain. Lena stood on the balcony, watching the lights smear across the wet glass. Cole joined her, a tumbler of whiskey in his hand. "You do not have to stand out here," he said. "I like the sound of rain," she replied. "It is the only noise that feels honest." He tilted his head, intrigued. "Honest? It falls on everyone the same way. No contracts, no conditions. Cole was quiet for a moment, then handed her his glass. To honesty, then. She hesitated before taking a sip. The warmth spread through her chest, not from the whiskey, but from the way he was looking at her like she had said something he had forgotten how to believe in. The next morning, the illusion of peace shattered. The news feeds exploded with a headline. Hawthorne marriage under scrutiny, anonymous source claims contract deal. Lena's phone buzzed nonstop. Reporters camped outside the building. By the time she reached the office, Cole was already in the conference room, surrounded by lawyers. His expression was calm, but the tension in his shoulders betrayed him. He gestured for her to sit. Someone leaked the story. We will deny it. Cole, she said, voice low. They are quoting parts of the contract. Whoever leaked it had access. His jaw clenched. I will find out who. The PR director entered, pale and trembling. Sir, the board wants a statement within the hour. Investors are panicking. Cole's eyes darkened. I will handle it. When the room cleared, he turned to Lena. You should stay out of sight for a few days. She shook her head. If I disappear, it will look like guilt. This is not about appearances, it is about protection. Protection from what? From the truth. He exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. You have no idea what this could cost. I do, she said quietly. I just do not think hiding is the answer. For the first time since she met him, Cole looked uncertain. He leaned against the table, his voice dropping. When I asked you to sign that paper, I thought I could control every variable. I did not expect to care what you think of me. The words slipped out before he could stop them. Lena froze, her breath caught between disbelief and fear. You do not have to say that, she whispered. I know, he said, but I meant it. Outside the glass walls, cameras flashed against the night sky like lightning. Inside, two people stood on opposite sides of a lie that had begun to feel dangerously like the truth. Lena turned away before he could see the tears gathering in her eyes. The rain returned, tapping against the windows in quiet applause, as if the city itself knew that their carefully built arrangement was about to break. The morning after the scandal broke, the Hawthorne Tower felt colder than ever. Reporters lined the sidewalk, their cameras flashing like storms of white fire. Inside, security guards whispered through radios, and the staff avoided eye contact as Lena walked through the lobby. Every step echoed too loud. Every whisper seemed to carry her name. She took the private elevator to the top floor, clutching the phone that would not stop vibrating with messages. Her inbox was flooded with requests for interviews, gossip site inquiries, even threats. When the doors opened, Cole stood by the window, staring at the skyline as if he could command it back into silence. Do not read any of it, he said without turning around. I already did, she answered. They think I married you for money. They think you paid me to stay quiet. It is all lies. Cole faced her then. His eyes were sharp, tired, the color of sleepless nights. Lies are easy to sell when people want to believe them. I have lawyers working on it. Lena shook her head. This is not just about lawyers. People see what they want to see. We could deny it 1,000 times, and it would not matter. He moved closer, lowering his voice. Then tell me what does matter. She hesitated. That you tell them the truth. That you stand beside me instead of hiding behind your company. Cole's expression hardened. You think I am hiding? I think you are afraid, she said. Afraid of losing the only thing you can control. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut. Cole turned away, gripping the back of a chair. If I speak publicly, the stock will crash. The board will remove me. Thousands of jobs could vanish overnight. You do not understand the weight of this. I understand perfectly, Lena said. But if you let them destroy my name to protect yours, there is nothing left to save. Her words hung between them, trembling. Then she walked out before he could answer. That night, Lena packed a small suitcase and left the penthouse. She took the subway, blending into the blur of strangers, her reflection flickering in the windows. The city lights made everything look temporary faces, promises, even love. She rented a small room above a bookstore downtown. The air smelled like ink and dust, but at least it was quiet. For the first time in weeks, she slept without cameras outside her door. Days turned into a strange rhythm of silence. She made coffee in the mornings, scrolled through the news in the evenings, and tried not to check her phone. Cole did not call. Not once. The world kept spinning without them. Then, one afternoon, the doorbell rang. When she opened it, a delivery man handed her a small box wrapped in gray paper with no return address. Inside lay a gold pen, the same one she had used to sign the contract, and a folded note. The handwriting was unmistakably his. "If you ever believe I chose the company over you, read this aloud before you decide to walk away." Below the words was a second piece of paper, a printed invitation. Press conference. Hawthorne Dynamics. Tam A.M. tomorrow. Lena's hands trembled as she stared at the date. It was today. She grabbed her coat and ran. When she reached the tower, the lobby was already filled with reporters. Cameras pointed at the stage set against the company logo. Cole stood behind the podium, tie undone, eyes clear. He waited until the room quieted. Then, with steady hands, he lifted a single sheet of paper, their contract. "For weeks, there have been rumors about my marriage. Some of them are true. Yes, it began as a deal. But what started as a contract became something real, and if the price for honesty is my position, I will pay it." The room erupted with questions, but he continued. "The woman you have been calling a fraud is the same one who saved this company when I could not. She deserves better than silence." Lena's breath caught. She felt every word land like a heartbeat. When he finished, Cole looked directly into the crowd, into her eyes. He tore the contract in half. The sound echoed through the hall, sharp and final. "No more pretending," he said. "Not in business and not in love." For the first time in weeks, the noise faded. In that stillness, Lena realized something she had never dared to believe. The lie they built had finally burned away, and what remained raw, imperfect, undeniable was the truth. The press conference became the headline of every network that night. Billionaire admits contract marriage was real after all. The story spread faster than any denial could have. But for once, Lena did not feel shame when she saw her name on the screen. She felt free. She stayed at the bookstore room for another day, expecting anger, calls, or chaos. Instead, there was silence. No one from Hawthorne Dynamics reached out. The board was already voting to suspend Cole from his position, and investors demanded explanations. He had done exactly what he said he would, told the truth, no matter the cost. Lena watched the news until the sound of it felt distant, like waves from another shore. She finally turned off the television and sat in the stillness. For the first time, she let herself cry, not from humiliation or fear, but from gratitude. Someone had finally chosen her, not for what she could fix, but for who she was. 2 days later, she went back to the office building that once felt like a tower of glass and secrets. The security guard gave her a hesitant nod, as if unsure whether to let her pass. "He is on the top floor," he said quietly, "but it is empty now." When the elevator opened, the boardroom lights were dim. Cole stood by the window again, sleeves rolled up, tie gone. The city glowed behind him like an ocean of electricity. "You should not be here," he said softly. "You said to read your note before I walked away," she replied. "I did. Now I am here." He turned to face her. "I thought honesty would cost me everything," he said. "It did, but it also gave me something I did not know I wanted." Lena's voice trembled. "Freedom." "No," he said. "You." The words hit harder than any declaration she had imagined. She took a step closer, but stopped when she saw the exhaustion in his eyes. "They suspended you," she said. "Yes, I will not fight it. The company will survive without me." "Maybe it should," Lena frowned. "You built it from nothing." "I built a machine," he said. "You reminded me it needs a heart." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the torn halves of their contract, now taped together with a thin silver ribbon. "I kept this," he said, "not as proof of a deal, but as proof that trust is still possible." Lena felt the burn of tears again. "What happens now?" Cole stepped forward, holding out a small box. Inside was the same gold pen she had used to sign her name months ago. "You once signed this for 6 months," he said. "This time, there are no terms, no expiration." Her breath caught. "You mean, yes," he said simply. "Marry me. Not for appearances, not for the company, for us." For a moment, neither moved. The city lights flickered like a pulse around them. Then Lena nodded, a tear sliding down her cheek. "Yes. But on one condition." He smiled faintly. You are negotiating again. Always, she said. No secrets. Not ever again. Deal, he whispered. When their hands met, it was not the handshake of a contract, but the touch of something alive and certain. Weeks later, news outlets called it the new Hawthorne era. Cole founded a foundation for young engineers, placing Lena at its head. Together, they turned the scandal into purpose. On the one-year anniversary of the press conference, they hosted a small celebration in the same boardroom where it had all begun. Friends, colleagues, and a few reporters gathered under the soft glow of evening light. At the center of the room, in a glass display case, stood the gold pen shining under a plaque that read, "The Deal That Built Trust." Lena looked at it and smiled. "It feels strange," she said quietly, "that something born from a lie could end in truth." Cole slipped his arm around her waist. "It was never the lie," he said. "It was the courage to face it." The room faded into the hum of conversation and laughter. Outside, the skyline burned with light, and for the first time, neither of them felt like they were pretending. What began as a transaction had become a promise, one written not on paper, but in the way they finally looked at each other and saw home. Autumn arrived in the city with quiet rain and colder mornings. The pace of Hawthorne Foundation was nothing like the corporate empire Cole had left behind. There were no stock meetings, no boardroom debates, just a team of young engineers working on projects that actually changed lives. Lena moved through the new office each day, her ID badge reading, Director of Innovation, a title she had never dreamed of holding. Cole still kept his desk in the corner, though it was smaller than the one he had at the tower. He spent his days mentoring, reviewing proposals, or disappearing into the workshop to help a young team fix a prototype. He laughed more now, something Lena still noticed every time it happened. The sound was rare, almost fragile, but it was real. Their marriage had quietly become everything the contract was never meant to be. There were no photo shoots, no staged events, just shared mornings, messy coffee, and long walks home through the quiet parts of the city. Some nights they talked about the past. Other nights they simply sat in silence, watching the skyline breathe. But happiness, Lena knew, never came without a test. One evening, as she prepared a presentation for the Foundation's next project, an email arrived in her inbox. The subject line made her heart race. Internal audit notice, financial review required. At first, she thought it was routine. But the deeper she read, the worse it became. Several large transfers had been flagged under Cole's old company account transactions that appeared to violate his resignation terms. Someone was trying to reopen the case against him, to frame it as embezzlement. Lena printed the files and went straight to Cole's office. He looked up from his notes when she entered. "You found it too," he said quietly. "You knew?" "I have been tracking it for days," he admitted. "Someone is moving money under my name. They want the foundation shut down before it grows." "Who would do that?" "The board, or what is left of it," he said. "They cannot stand that we rebuilt something better without them." Lena felt anger rising. "Then we fight. You cleared your name once. We will do it again." Cole stood and walked to the window. The streetlights shimmered across the glass, painting both their reflections in gold and shadow. "You do not have to fight my battles," he said. "Yes, I do," she replied, "because they are not just yours anymore." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Cole smiled faintly. "You really were never meant to follow the rules, were you?" "Not when the rules are wrong," she said. They spent the next week gathering evidence. Lena worked late every night, tracing each suspicious transaction line by line. Her fingers ached, her eyes burned, but she refused to stop. Cole tried to convince her to rest, but she shook her head. "You once told me that power only listens when it raises its voice," she reminded him. "Now it is my turn." Finally, on a stormy Friday morning, they presented the findings to the authorities. The investigation revealed that a former executive had forged Cole's credentials to reroute company funds. The story broke across every major outlet. Ex-board member arrested in Hawthorne fraud case. Cole watched the broadcast quietly. When it ended, he turned to Lena. "You saved me again," she smiled softly. "We saved each other. That is what marriage is supposed to be." He took her hand, lifting it to his lips. "Then maybe this time, we write the rules together." Outside, the storm cleared, leaving the city washed clean beneath the soft glow of evening. Through the window, they stood side by side, the reflection of two people who had turned scandal into strength. Their story was no longer about contracts, or power, or survival. It was about rebuilding something honest in a world that had forgotten how. The deepest secrets are about to change everything. Subscribe now to catch the dramatic twist that is coming in the next chapter. Winter settled over the city, wrapping everything in muted silver light. The foundation had become stronger than ever, its projects expanding across states, but Lena could sense a quiet distance growing in Cole. He smiled less, spent more hours behind closed doors, and sometimes stared at his old company's building from their apartment balcony without saying a word. One evening, she found him sitting in the dark, papers scattered across the table. "You are working late again," she said softly. He looked up, tired. "It is not work. It is the letter from the board. They offered to reinstate me as CEO." Lena froze. "You are thinking about going back?" "They claim the company needs stability," he replied. "But I know what they want. They want control again. Still, part of me misses the challenge, the pressure. It is hard to walk away from the life you built." Lena stepped closer. "You did not walk away. You chose something better. You chose truth." He smiled faintly but did not answer. The silence between them was gentle but heavy. Days passed, and the offer lingered like a shadow. Cole attended a few meetings just to listen, though he told Lena it meant nothing. But one night, he came home late, his expression unreadable. "They offered me a merger," he said. "If I agree, they will back the foundation permanently. No more threats, no more leaks." Lena felt her chest tighten. "At what cost?" "I would have to return as chairman," he said, publicly. She stared at him. "That means cameras, scrutiny, every lie dragged out again." "I know," he said, "but it could secure everything we built." Lena turned away, struggling to steady her voice. "Cole, you cannot trade peace for power again. That was the life that nearly destroyed you." He reached for her hand. "And you are the one who saved me from it. I will not forget that." But his eyes told a different story, one filled with conflict, ambition, and something close to fear. That night, Lena could not sleep. The city outside felt endless, restless, full of ghosts of the past that refused to stay buried. She watched the skyline and whispered, "Do not let them take you back." Morning came, and Cole was gone before sunrise. On the kitchen counter, he had left a note. "Meeting with the board. Do not worry." She stared at the words for a long time, her fingers trembling. Somewhere deep inside, she knew that whatever happened next would test not only their love, but everything they had rebuilt from ashes. The cold wind outside pressed against the windows as if warning her the higher they climbed, the thinner the air became, and the wrong step could send everything falling again. The boardroom felt like a battlefield when Cole walked in that morning. Cameras flashed from every corner, and the old directors sat in a semicircle of polished smiles. They spoke in rehearsed tones about legacy, profit, and the opportunity to rebuild the brand. Behind their words hid the same hunger that had destroyed everything once before. Cole listened in silence, fingers pressed together. When the chairman finally said, "All we need is your signature," the room went still. The pen gleamed on the table, gold and heavy, like a symbol of everything he had fought to escape. He could almost hear Lena's voice in his mind. "Do not trade peace for power again." For a moment, his resolve wavered. Then he pushed the pen away. "No," he said quietly. "You do not need me. You need a face to clean your image. I am not doing this again." Murmurs rippled through the room. The chairman leaned forward. "You are making a mistake, Mr. Hawthorne. Without our backing, your foundation will collapse." Cole stood, calm but unshakable. "It will not, because this time it was built on truth, not manipulation." He turned and left before they could respond. The cameras followed him into the hallway, flashing wildly as reporters shouted questions. He ignored them all and stepped into the cold morning air, breathing for what felt like the first time in years. When he returned home, Lena was waiting by the window, the same way he had once waited for her. The relief in her eyes told him she already knew. "You walked away," she said softly. "I had to," he replied. "They wanted to buy redemption. I will earn mine instead." She crossed the room and wrapped her arms around him. "You already have." That evening, they went back to the foundation. The young engineers cheered when they saw him. For the first time in months, the building felt alive again, filled with purpose, not pretense. Cole looked at the glowing sign above the entrance, the Hawthorne Foundation for Change. Lena turned to him. "Do you ever miss it? The Empire?" He smiled faintly. "Sometimes. But then I remember that empires fall, families endure." Outside, the city lights shimmered against the dusk. Cole reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a new document, a proposal for global scholarships in Lena's name. He handed it to her. "This is what I want to sign now," he said. "Something real." Lena read the title and looked up at him, her voice barely a whisper. "This time, no contracts?" "No contracts," he said. "Only promises." And as the night unfolded around them, it felt as if the weight of their past had finally lifted. What once began as a lie had turned into the one truth neither of them could walk away from. Spring arrived like a quiet promise, warm light spilling through the tall windows of the new foundation headquarters. 1 year had passed since the press conference that changed everything. The city had stopped whispering about their scandal and had started admiring their work instead. The scholarships in Lena's name were already helping hundreds of students, and Cole had become a quiet figure of generosity, rarely speaking in public, but always showing up when someone needed help. On a calm Saturday morning, the foundation hosted its first anniversary event. The hall was filled with laughter, soft music, and the scent of white lilies. Lena walked through the crowd, greeting donors and volunteers, her heart full as she looked at what they had built together. When she reached the main display, she stopped. Behind the glass stood the same gold pen that had once started it all, no longer a symbol of business, but of transformation. A small plaque read, "The deal that built trust." Cole approached from behind her, wearing a gray suit and a smile that was no longer practiced. "Do you ever think about that night?" he asked. "Every day," she said softly. "It reminds me that sometimes the wrong beginning can lead to the right ending." He nodded, slipping his hand into hers. "We both signed for a lie and ended up finding something real. I think that is the only deal that ever mattered." The sound of applause filled the room as a young engineer took the stage to thank them for their vision. Cole squeezed her hand gently. "You know," he said, "we never had a real wedding. No cameras, no contracts. Just us." Lena smiled. "Maybe we do not need one." "Maybe we do," he replied. "But this time, we write our own vows." A few minutes later, the lights dimmed, and the projector illuminated the words, "Hawthorne Foundation Anniversary." To everyone's surprise, Cole walked onto the stage, holding a microphone. "A year ago, this foundation began with a lie that became truth," he said. "And today, I want to finish that truth properly." He turned to Lena, his voice steady but warm. "Will you marry me again, not as a deal, not as a statement, but because I still choose you every single day?" The crowd gasped, then fell into silence. Lena's eyes glistened as she stepped onto the stage, whispering, "Yes, but only if you promise no paperwork this time." He laughed, and the audience joined in. Then he took her hand, kissed it softly, and said, "Just promises." The music swelled, the room erupted in applause, and for the first time, the story that began in silence ended in celebration. Outside, the city lights reflected on the glass like scattered stars, and somewhere within that glow, their love finally felt like home. Thank you for joining us for this cinematic adventure. If you want more untold stories of billionaire love and redemption, please subscribe and choose your next true heart journey on your screen now.